Running a household is hard, no matter how many people are in it. It requires so much labor, unpaid labor. And if you live with other people, it can be really easy for the distribution of that labor to get off kilter. So if you feel like you are doing everything around your house, the bills, the dishes, the laundry, all of it, stick around because in today's episode, I'm sharing with you a tool that I built that will help you to distribute that labor in a way that feels good to everyone, that will help you have these conversations about labor, and you can access it for free. Welcome to the Do More, Stress Less podcast. I'm your host, Alexis Hasselberger, a time management and productivity coach. In every episode, I give you actionable, practical tips to help you learn to use your time in a way that feels good to you every day. No more hustling, scrambling, or struggling to keep your head above water. So let's dive in, and soon enough, you'll be doing more and stressing less. Recently, one of my kids moved out of the house for school, getting me dangerously close to that empty nest precipice. And I have so many feelings, but I'm going to keep those to myself for right now. But there are also a lot of logistics of a changing household dynamic that we need to contend with. And chief among them is that the household labor, which is more than just chores, right? It's the laundry, it's the dishes, of course, but it's also noticing when you're running low on milk and making doctor's appointments and organizing your kiddo's birthday party. It's all that stuff, invisible and visible. And for the last several years, this kiddo of mine, the one that moved out, he has taken on his fair share of the labor at home. He's been loading the dishwasher and setting the table and getting everyone water for dinner and taking out the trash and the recycling, among other things. So with his absence, he's left, not only a giant hole in my heart, but also a gap in the smooth functioning of our household, right? Because he was 1/4 of it. And I wasn't personally going to fill that gap in its entirety. Like, just because he moved out and was no longer there, I was not going to be doing all of the chores. I refuse to be a cliche. I refuse to be a martyr. And it doesn't work for just mom to be doing all this stuff, or at least it doesn't work for me. And therefore, it doesn't work for my family. And so at our first weekly family meeting, after my son moved out, which is my husband, my other son, and myself, we had a conversation about how we were going to redistribute the chores equitably so that one person wasn't just taking them all on. And it honestly went a little better than I thought. There was actually very little contention. There was no arguing. And, here's what we decided. We decided that I would take on setting the table because I'm already cooking dinner, that my other son would take on garbage and recycle because he was already on compost duty, and that my husband would take over the loading of the dishwasher and hand washing all the things that don't belong in the dishwasher. And then we're all just getting our own drinks for dinner. But the details of what we decided, while maybe interesting, I don't know, aren't the important part, right? What matters is that we, one, noticed that this change in our family structure would necessitate a change in how equitably we could distribute the labor running our household, right? We then met to actually discuss it and agree on a redistribution of labor plan. And then three, we actually implemented what we discussed, right? These are the important part, not the details, but how we did it. And this reminded me that there are all sorts of inflection points where it makes sense to redistribute the household labor in your home, both the invisible labor and the visible labor. So to name a few, this is not an exclusive list, right? But to name a few, when you move in with a significant other or a roommate, that is a perfect time to talk about division of labor. When you have a baby, that is another perfect time to talk about this because you know what? Babies come with a whole lot of chores, right? Or when you add another kid to your family, right? That is necessitating a change in things. There's more work to be done. When your kids age and can take on new responsibilities, right? So we have been doling out chores to our kids on New Year's Day for as long as I can remember, much to their chagrin. I know I said, it works for everybody. I don't know how well it works for my kids and that they enjoy doing their chores, but they are doing their chores without complaint for the most part. And I think it's really important that they learn how to be, responsible members in a household, right? Because it won't be that long before they are in their own households and I'm not there. Maybe when a grandparent moves in or out of your home, right? Those of us in the sandwich generation, there's a lot of kind of moving in and out of grandparents, et cetera. or when there's some other major change in your household. COVID isolation, like this is a time, when anyone's isolating for COVID, that's a great time to think about it. When somebody is grieving and they can't do their normal activities, that's another time. Or when somebody is in treatment for a major illness or recovering from surgery. I know that when I was recovering from surgery and treatment from breast cancer a few years ago, that was definitely a time where we redistributed labor. And actually, what happened is that my mom came to stay with us for a month so that she could really take on the brunt of the extra labor that I was not able to do during that time. So that was such a gift to be able to have her help us out during that time that was really difficult. And then, of course, when a kid moves out, right? This is another time that we are going to be thinking about the redistribution of labor. Are you in the middle of any one of these types of transitions right now? Is the makeup of your household changing in some way? Um, Look for these conversations, right? And look at these conversations because these conversations, they're not always that easy to have, especially if you're not used to doing it, right? If you're not used to talking about household labor, it can maybe feel weird to bring it up. But I've got you covered because I built a tool and you can access it for free. I will put the link in the show notes that will help you distribute or redistribute the labor more equitably in your family based on the time you each have available, your interests, and your skills. And so grab that link in the show notes if you want to try this out and try it out and let me know what you think. If it works for you, if it helps you to have better conversations, even if it just helps you to open up a conversation about household labor, then that is good enough for me because it is getting you one step closer to not doing everything yourself. And that's a wrap on today's episode of the Do More, Stress Less podcast. If today's episode resonated with you, I've got a little something else you might want to know about. I want you to check out my free class, 3 Secrets for Always Having Enough Time for Your Work, Your Family, and most importantly, yourself. It's short, it's practical, it's packed with strategies that you can use right away, and it's free. You can grab your spot at the link in the show notes or at alexishasselberger.com. See you next time.